All right, what is going on, everybody? Got a bit of a different video today. I'm going to try to get through it in a timely manner, but we will see. We're going to talk about the women's off-season league. At least that's what it is for now. Unrivaled, started by WNBA players. Um, Obviously, all the rosters are filled with great WNBA players. We'll get into that. We'll get into the success of it, the popularity of it, and all that stuff. It's very, very interesting. Um, but also, I want to touch on these alternative leagues, we'll call them. We're not going to call them developmental leagues. We're not going to call them um, whatever. They're just alternative leagues filled with similar talent from U.S. Professional teams. There is a lot going on in this space. I have a lot of articles pulled up, so I'm going to try my best to get through all of them, touch on some stuff, my opinions, obviously. The final four, the final game for the Unrivaled season is happening tonight as I'm recording this. So if I don't mention who won, that's why this is pre recorded. But I did want to talk about it, just talk about the Unrivaled season and talk about these alternate leagues. So if you like what I say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment them down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. Let's jump right into it. The first half of this is going to be purely just unrivaled stuff, and then we'll get into um, some other interesting news and some other stuff going on um, outside of professional American hoops, so to speak. Professional American hoops, yeah. Anyways, Unrivaled is compiled of a lot of great WNBA talent. You have the most recent champion, Sabrina Ionescu. You have Cam Brink. You have Aaliyah Boston, teammates with Caitlin Clark. You have, let's see here, Brittany Griner, lover or hater. Um, you have Courtney Vandersloot. You have Skylar Diggins Smith. You have Natasha Cloud. You have Kayla McBride. You have ooh, Angel Reese. They have their nicknames on here, so I was going through my lexicon of names. You have Jackie Young. You have Jewel Lloyd. You have Erika. You have Chelsea Gray. You have, oh man, I'm blanking on names. Damn. You have Brianna Stewart, and you have a bunch of great talent. You have Nafis Collier. Jeez, I can never say that. They call her Fee. Phee. um, so I've been watching this whole season, this whole inaugural season of this um, women's league, and there's a lot of good stuff going on. Obviously, in women's basketball, there's the huge conversation about um, they should be paid more. Some say they should be paid equally to men. I say, show us the numbers and then we can talk about it. But I think the bigger conversation is that the women's game and the women's teams need more security and need more health benefits in the sense of recovery facilities and amenities, um, pregame stuff, um, just the basic, just cute little things like um, the Unrivaled has a place for these girls to get their makeup done. I should say women, not girls, to get their makeup done. They have a daycare for if you have a kid. Um, they have these little tiny things, and it's only been a couple month league, and it's something down in Miami that I think off of the success of this season, they're going to try to do every year. Because in the past, these WNBA players have had to. This is, I believe, pre um, the global shutdown. Um, these women used to go overseas and play in Russia and Spain and all this stuff, and they would make big money over there. They would make millions and millions of dollars. People like Sue Bird, people like Diana Taurasi, who just recently retired, went over there and made millions. They made more than they ever made playing in the WNBA. I don't think these girls, these women are getting paid like that yet to play an Unrivaled, but it's the inaugural season. There's always room for movement and expansion. And they had a one-on-one tournament, which was amazing. And we'll touch on the numbers and the viewing numbers and everything in a minute, but um, it was an experiment that I think was cultivated and executed so well. They got it on national TV, easy to access, had very visible. The social media presence was also very good. Obviously, you bring popular people in like Sabrina, Cam Brink, um, Angel Reese, um, just I won't. I'll just say a younger generation and a bit of what what young girls and even guys want to see these players, whether you like the way they play or not, whether they're controversial like Angel Reese, whether they're um, just barely getting started in Cam Brink's case, who didn't play all that much in the WNBA season, didn't play all that much in Unrivaled, but and even Sabrina, who left halfway through the Unrivaled season, was there just to promote it, which I think is a very good sign, just to get people talking about the players and the teams. And as you can see, the teams are on your screen right now. There's only 3 teams on each side, 6 teams in total. Um, they're not affiliated with any city. They're just the club. That's all they are, which I think is cool. It's just they're the club. It's like an AAU team. We're just the Lunar Owls, or we're just the Phantoms, or we're just Vinyl. I think it's super cool. Um, to talk about a bit of the season, um, the standings throughout this season were the Lunar Owls at 1. They had the best record. They were 13-1. They did not make the final dance. They did not make the final game for Unrivaled. Rose is right behind them. 8 wins on the season, 6 losses. They are in the final game, and the Laces, 7-7 on the season, 7 losses, 7 wins, are also in the final. Um, oh, pardon me. I'm reading it wrong. Laces did not make it. The Vinyl made it. With the poor record, they still made the final game. The Laces did have a good season, though. They have a lot of good players on that team. Um, One of my favorite teams, I guess my 2 favorite teams are probably the Owls, the Laces, and the Phantom, even though the Phantom did piss poor. Um, the Mist, also a negative season, 5-9 on the season, and the Phantom. I called it from the beginning. I looked at this team's roster and I said, this team's roster makes no fucking sense. And they ended 4-10. So I'll take my wins where I can get them, but that's where the bracket ended up, the standings ended up. And the final game, let me pull it up here. The final game is the Vinyl versus the Rose. Um, like I said, I'm pre-recording this, so I don't know who won. If I had to pick a team, man, let me read the teams out to you first before I make my decision. Um, the Vinyl have Renee Howard, Aaliyah Boston. Aaliyah Boston's a favorite of mine. They have Ray Burrell. They have Arika Akumbawale. I believe that's how you say it. I'm sorry if I butchered that. Ooh. Jordan Canada, Darika Hamby, and head coach Teresa Witherspoon, WNBA legend. I don't think Arika didn't play last game. I don't think she's playing the next game either, unless something comes out in the next couple hours. And for the Rose, Brittany Sykes, Zora Stevenson. Jeez, I'm butchering these names. I always butcher these names. Clea Copper, Angel Reese did not play the previous game. I don't think she'll play the next game either. She might. It's a hand injury, so I don't know. I don't know. Um, she's also on this roster, Lexi Hull, and one of the greatest point guards to do in the WNBA, Chelsea Gray, on my Las Vegas Aces in the regular WNBA season. Big fan. She played very well for her age, especially. Chelsea Gray played very well, and Noelle Henry is the head coach for the Rose. I like her as a coach. I don't know what she does with her other spare time. We can look at it right now. But oh, you can't. Oh, I thought you could click these profiles. You cannot, which is fine. Um, oh man, I think I think if the Vinyl get back Arika, they could win this game easily. But if they don't, I'm gonna give it to the Rose. They've just had a great season. Um, yeah, I'd give it to them. I'd give it to them. Yeah, yeah. Um, to touch on some other stuff about Unrivaled, um, Fisa Collier was the first MVP in the inaugural season, and Angel Reese was the Defensive Player of the Year. Both deserved. I would have picked somebody different than Angel Reese. Um, at times, she was in a lot of foul trouble. At times, she was out there rebounding, and to me, defense doesn't or rebounding doesn't add to your defense. I think defense should only be blocks and steals and actually being a presence and not just getting boards. I think it's utterly ridiculous in any league, especially to be like, well, rebounds actually, I don't want to hear that. It don't matter. It don't matter. It's a part of the game, but it's not the most necessary part of the game, especially when we're talking about a defensive player, especially in 2025 where you need switchability. You need to be able to guard guards, bigs, and forwards. It's group rebounding at this point. A lot of teams rebound by committee. I think it's great that Angel Reese can get the boards, but I think it's just ridiculous that we as a basketball community think rebounding is the most one of the most important stats when talking about defense in 2025. It's silly. Um, that being said, let's jump into some of the numbers for Unrivaled, the inaugural season. Like I said, there was a one-on-one tournament halfway through the season. Um, it drew the biggest ratings for the league. The viewership peaked at 377,000 viewers, um, surpassed the audience for league's debut telecast. Um, really good stuff. Um, I watched some of the one-on-one tournament. I didn't watch all of it because, let's be honest, the bracket should have been separated guards and bigs. Having everybody on one bracket was sort of one side of the bracket was sort of weird because you knew the bigs were gonna win, um, just because they were gonna back the smaller defender down, and unless the guard got going on 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 the offensive end or knocking down threes, it was just nah. So I was not that interested but once it got to the end and it was two bigs going at each other or two guards matched up, I was tuned in. Um, yeah, and the prize was $200,000 for the winner, and the winner was Nafisa Collier, co-founder and player um, for Unrivaled. Um, Unrivaled averaged 190,000 viewers per window. I don't know what per window means, but I assume that's good. Um, and 227,000 if you take out the games that are exclusive to True TV. Um, so yeah, not not like league altering or nationwide altering like numbers, but I think that's very good, especially for a women's league. I'm reading these numbers from frontofficesports.com, a very reliable source. I follow Front Office Sports on Twitter. They're very, very good. And this article was by Ryan Glassable. Glassable? Ryan G. Shout out Ryan G. For putting this article together. It's a little short article, but it has the numbers and everything. So if you want to check it out, I'll put a link down below for your viewing pleasure. And the last thing I want to talk about Unrivaled is the uh, the people involved um, in bringing this to fruition and people that uh, started supporting it along the way. Financially, I'm talking about not just being a fan and wearing a jersey, actually supporting it financially, which is a huge part of this. Um, they raised $35 million, and they play in a great, I believe it's a double sided um, basketball facility. Um, which is very cool. So one game's on, one team's warming up, one team's on the actual court, and so on and so forth, which is very, very good. Um, I won't get into the actual companies because you won't hear me talk about companies. I will talk about the people, the actual people that sponsored this thing, that got in on this thing. Multiple time MVP, defensive player of the year, Giannis Antetokounmpo was involved. Um, college coach, successful college coach, Don Staley, also WNBA legend, Olympic legend Don Staley, um, Juju Watkins, college phenom, has a lot of money to do, to has a lot of money to spend, and I'm glad she's putting it towards something cool like this. Michael Phelps, uh, goat swimmer, one of my favorite Olympic athletes of all time. Love Michael Phelps. Um, Steph Curry also got involved, I believe, a couple weeks ago, put some money into it, and a bunch of other people here. Let me see. Richard Hamilton, uh, NBA All Star and champion for the Detroit Pistons. And this is I was looking at this article earlier, and I was like, oh wow, this guy invested. Jangling Joe Ingles, 11-year NBA veteran and 5-time Olympian for Australia. Shout out Joe Ingles. um, but yeah, you also get some partial ownership in a team of your choice that I'm reading here, um, and yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Um, and to piggyback off that, the success and the just the I guess the thought behind an alternative league, because the WNBA has not said anything about Unrivaled. They haven't even posted anything about it. So they're really looking at Unrivaled as an alternative league, you know. Um, not saying the players can't go, but they just haven't said anything about Unrivaled. And obviously, when you're in the entertainment space and the sports space, you look at teams as you look at other what do you call it associations and other federations or whatever you want to call it as competition. And I wanted to talk about this for a long time, but Maverick Carter, LeBron James' associate and business partner, um, is looking into, or not even looking into, it's happening, um, sourcing money for a men's alternative league, a travel league, so to speak, to go across the world like Formula One. Um, and it's a $5 billion advising effort to start a new basketball league. Um, I'm going to read some articles, some numbers and everything, some quotes from ESPN.com and again, Front Office Sports. Um, the ESPN article is written by Shams Charania, and the Front Office Sports article is written by Dennis Young and Oral O.R. Maylor. Interesting name. Um, just piggybacking on the end here of the Unrivaled stuff, just because I think it's interesting because you look at the WNBA and the WNBA has CBA negotiations coming up next year. Um, that's collective bargaining agreement for next year is a big deal. The NBA has not been the best product the last couple years, and people aren't invested as they used to. Um, Players and governors slash owners can't agree on things, and it's interesting because you look at golf, you look at soccer, where these alternative leagues, um, or even teams can lure these stars with millions and millions of dollars and less effort, with more fun and just things that these traditional leagues can't offer you. Um, you look at Ronaldo going to that Saudi team and getting paid like $500 million to play for 3 seasons or 4 seasons. I think his contract just ended or it's ending. But you look at that. You look at the um the golf thing that happened a couple years ago. I forget the name off the top of my head, but there was an alternative golf league or organization opposed to the PGA, and the PGA just said we can't take this anymore and just absorbed them. They bought them out essentially, and they got their players, they got their golfers back and everything. Um, and it's just interesting to me that um, these foreign investors can make a league um, and interest big stars like it's just such a weird timeline to live in. Let's hop into the article so we don't waste too much time here. Um, I'm going to read some of this stuff verbatim. I'm going to paraphrase some of it. Maverick Carter, LeBron James' business manager, has been enlisted to an advisor by a group of investors seeking to raise $5 billion to perform an international basketball league that would serve as a rival to the NBA. Sources told ESPN, confirming the story first reported Thursday by Bloomberg. The group, which includes multiple private equity funds, is looking to form a league consisting of 6 men's teams and 6 women's teams. Okay, so it's a dual league. Okay, playing games around the world. Sources told ESPN. I did not know it was a women's league as well, so they're doing both. They're trying to hit both markets. Interesting. Although Carter has served as a producer on more than one of LeBron James's TV and movies projects, he is closely tied to the Los Angeles Lakers. The Los Angeles Lakers star, sources told ESPN, James is not involved in the effort whatsoever with this new league. James, who is currently on a contract, includes a player option for 2025-2026, has expressed interest in becoming an NBA owner one day once his playing career has come to an end. Let's see here. What else we got? The NBA has not faced significant rival 5-on-5 leagues since the 1970s, when it emerged with a short-lived American Basketball Association absorbed 4 of its teams: the Pacers, the Nuggets, the Nets, and the Spurs. The WNBA has also beaten their competitors back in the 90s, um, and it mentions Unrivaled here as well. Yeah, very interesting stuff. I'm going to move on to this front office sports article as well. Um, to say this was, well, we'll get to the article in a second, but to say that like the thing about, also this, the thing about a traveling league, we'll call it a traveling circus. How about that? We'll call it a traveling circus, like the Harlem Globetrotters, right? Um, except it's for professional players. The thing about that is you would have to get a lot of big names. You would have to get people willing to sacrifice their summer, which NBA players don't like to do because they're already making millions of dollars. Maybe you could get some mid-tier guys, but the other problem with making it a traveling league with with along the likes of Formula One is that for American viewers to watch, it would be very hard. Um, and basketball is a global sport, but you still need to have the American eyes on it simply because America is, I think, the biggest digester of basketball. Basketball was made in Canada, but is a North American sport, so to speak. Um, I think it's important to get those eyes on it. And if a game is people don't want to watch NBA games that start at 10 or 11. I don't think they want to watch a game at 1 in the morning, at midnight. I don't think they want to watch games. Now, depending on how long the games are, how quick the games go by, how many games you have in a night, be a little different. But I think that's the only thing because as a Formula One watcher as well, I look at some of these start times and I'm like, man, I gotta wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I gotta stay up to 1 o'clock in the morning to watch cars go zoom around a track. Oof, it's a commitment. I don't think a lot. I don't think a lot of American fans want to commit like that. Um, Back to the other article. Oh, it says right here the league. Oh, wait. Let me see here. Uh, Sources familiar with the new league told Front Office Sports last month that James would not be involved and that the league has no intention with competing directly with the NBA. The league instead is aiming to be, quote, F1 for basketball, making 2 week stops in 8 global cities. Singapore was known as a host location, and the FT report listed Maku as another host. Oh, geez, okay. We get with foreign names now. FT also reported the league expected to be a full-time responsibility, unlike Unrivaled, which happens during the WNBA offseason the last few months. However, like Unrivaled, players would receive equity in the league. Interesting stuff. Oh man, is equity free? Like, is is that like something like that players want to invest in? Like like you don't know what this thing could be. It could be the next gold rush, but like at the same time, it's like, do I want my name attached to this thing? I don't know. Uh, the NBA has only a short window between its finals in June and the start of its season in October, making any new league a potential rival. Kevin Durant's long-term business manager, Rich Kleiman, said Thursday that he could see his client potentially joining a new league. Oh boy, oh boy. Um, I'm not gonna read all of this. You can read it for yourself. I don't want to read their read their stuff. You should go check it out. Give them some clicks on their thing. But interesting. See, this is why I like reacting to stuff live. Because if I read this before, I would have been like surprised. Um, I've been wanting to talk about this for months. I've had this on my docket for months now, and I'm glad I kind of found an article for it. Let me tell you, I've had this on the docket for a while here. Uh, yeah, just know I've had it on the docket for a while. And I'm glad I got to talk about it. Got to talk about Unrivaled. Um, yeah, interesting times in basketball. Interesting times. This next, the end of the decade is going to be interesting. Um, I don't know. I think the WNBA is heading in the right direction while the NBA is sort of in limbo. I can make a whole video talking about what the NBA needs to do to get people engaged, what the NBA isn't doing. Maybe we'll do that, but we should do it at the end of this week, maybe, because there's no games. We should do it at the end of this week. Make it a date. We'll do that. Anyways, thank you for listening to me ramble. Thank you for uh, listening to me read articles and talk about women's basketball and stuff. Um, Always fun. If you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment them down below. Um, And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. It really helps. And I will see you guys next time. Cheers.